and welcome to EUMETSAT. My name is Daniel Lee, and we are here in the atrium of EUMETSAT's main building, which is the first place that visitors see when they come here. And what I'm going to be doing with you today is reviewing the Data Tailor. And the Data Tailor is a new software that EUMETSAT has built for you, our users, and it is one of our first big data pilots that is designed to make it easier to work with our data products in a big data context. It's a cloud-native application, and if you're considering deploying the Data Tailor to your systems, you should know that it supports a Python API, a command line interface, and a REST API. And built on top of all of those, we have a graphical user interface which is accessible via a browser. And that is the interface we'll be exploring today. The purpose of the Data Tailor is to tailor data products from EUMETSAT into standard geospatial formats that you can use with any geospatial information system. And the reason that we've built this for you is because we produce a lot of products at EUMETSAT. And these are available in a variety of formats. Some of these are binary, bespoke formats. In fact, quite a few of them are. And in order to be able to read them, in the past it was required that users implemented their own software that was specifically adapted to our data products. In the future this will be easier, and one way that it will be easier is through the use of the Data Tailor. Our main focus at the moment during the pilot phase of the toolbox is having complete support for all of the products that we make. And we've begun with this core set of products that you see on my screen. They're organized by platform. At the very top you have the EUMETSAT Polar System, EPS, the different products that are supported, and the product type that's associated with that. We also have some products from the Land Surface Application Satellite Application Facility, the Landsat, and also products from Meteosat 2nd Generation and the OSISAF. And as time progresses, we plan to add support for more products, particularly for any new products that we produce. I mentioned previously that in the past it was necessary that users wrote their own software in order to be able to read our products. And because a lot of users are interested in combining our data with other classic geospatial data, the main approach is to convert our data products into a format that can be readily consumed by a geographic information system. And that's exactly the main focus of the Data Tailor at the moment. I'm going to demonstrate a workflow that shows how to start the toolbox on a Windows PC and then load in some products and display them together with general purpose geospatial data. I'd be really interested to see real applications of this because this is just a generic workflow, but hopefully you'll get the idea. The Data Tailor comes as an Anaconda package, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up the Anaconda prompt. And within the Anaconda prompt, I now need to activate the Data Tailor's environment. This environment is called EPCT Desktop because the previous name that we've been using before we release it to users was the EUMETSAT Products Customization Toolbox. This may be renamed in the future. So I've just typed conda activate EPCT Desktop, and now the environment is activated, so I can run the web user interface, the web UI. And when I hit enter, the Anaconda prompt is launching a small server that's running on my computer in the background, and it will also launch a browser that we'll use to access that server. Now note that at the moment, because of course my firewall is closed off to external access, this is only available from my computer. However, if you wanted to deploy this in a place where other users could access it, that would be very easy to do because we're using standard web technologies. It normally doesn't take this long, but on Windows it takes longer. So now the Data Tailor is loaded, and you can see the graphical user interface reflects folders that are located on my computer. Even though we're using a browser, we're accessing files on our local file system. The first thing I need to do is choose a product type from the Launchpad. For the interest of demonstration, I'm choosing AVHRR Level 1B products because I think they're nice to look at. And now I need to navigate through my computer's input files and find some products that match that type. Here I see some AVHRR imagery. I'm going to choose this granule to customize, and the next step is to choose where the customized data should go. In this case, I'm going to put it in my user space. Now you may be asking yourself, what if I don't want to have to navigate my entire file system every time I start up the Data Tailor so that I can find the input and output data? Well, if you don't want to set that up every time, there is an option in the configuration settings where you can say where the Data Tailor should start from. And this is detailed in our user guide, and that's also linked down in the video description below. Now that I've picked my input files and I've told the Data Tailor where to store the outputs, I need to select what to do with them. I can either do that by selecting a complete configuration by hand, and that would involve selecting an output format and then saying what I want to do with it, or I can choose a configuration that already exists. And in this case, I'm going to do that for the sake of simplicity. Note that you can save your own configurations by clicking on this button down in the bottom right-hand side. So I've just chosen a configuration that I want to use, and I can take a look through the different tabs in order to check on what this will do. There's also a summary that popped up below. If I open up the aggregation tab, I see that it's possible to aggregate this granule of EPS data together with other granules. In this case, I don't want to do that. I can also open up the layer filter and pull out only specific layers that I'm interested in. In this case, because I selected a pre-existing configuration, the layers are already chosen for me. Another thing that I might be interested in doing is reprojecting the data into a geographic projection. And this I will do. So I'm going to just choose here a geographic projection because it's a standard projection so that I can show the data together with other geospatial data. The other tabs give me the ability to produce a region of interest extraction, to generate a quick look, which is a very simple visualization of the product in question. And I can also choose output options in order to compress the outputs in certain ways. And when I'm finished with all of that, I can kick off the process by hitting the play button down in the bottom right. Now you may have noticed that there's a lot of loading involved in this, and that's because the user interface is communicating with the server deployed on my computer. It so happens that I'm using a Windows computer, and the Data Tailor is optimized for use on Linux. So if you notice that it's too slow for you, you might consider moving to Linux instead. However, all of these loading times are just for choosing what to do. I can also save the configurations and call them from the command line, and then that would bypass them completely. What we see on my screen right now is the status of the running job, and you can view the logs, outputs, to diagnose anything that's interesting to you on the right-hand side. While that job is running, I'm also going to kick off a second job to customize some MEDIOSAT second generation imagery that we can view together with the EPS data. So I go back to the launch pad, I type MEDIOSAT, and now I need to find data that matches that data type. It so happens that I know where it is. Now I'm selecting some MSG data, that is MEDIOSAT second generation. So now the customizations are finished and we can look at the results. This is the folder that I've been using to store the outputs, and as you can see it's now full of files, which are the outputs of what we've produced. And in the background I have QGIS, a classic normal geospatial information explorer, open. What I'm going to do is load in some typical geospatial data that has absolutely nothing to do with EUMETSAT, so that you can see that it's easy now to combine EUMETSAT data products with whatever data you like. So the first thing I'm doing is pulling in a shapefile which shows the continents of the Earth. As you can see, this is the familiar view of the Earth, and in the bottom of my screen you can also see coordinates of my mouse's position. On top of that, we can lay additional layers, for example, the reprojected AVHRR data. It so happens that this data was going right over the poles, and so when it was reprojected, when we're viewing it using this style of projection, you can see it gets very stretched out because it goes over the South Pole. And in addition to that, I have MSG imagery, and that is positioned in the center of the world. So what I have here are 3 different pieces of data, all from different sources, from different missions. In fact, the AVHRR data was from a polar orbiting satellite about 800 kilometers above the Earth, and we also have imagery from a geostationary satellite several thousand kilometers away, and all of this seamlessly combined with general purpose geospatial data. And if you wanted to upload into this view any other geospatial data, it would work without any difficulties. That is the magic of the Data Tailor. So what you just saw is a complete tutorial on how to open the Data Tailor on a Windows desktop, which leads us to the graphical user interface where we customized 2 different products from 2 different satellite platforms that we run at EUMETSAT. And these were then seamlessly combined with general purpose geospatial data in a geographic information system, in this case QGIS. I hope this tutorial has been useful to you, and I'd be really excited to see what novel and interesting ways you have of using the Data Tailor. If you'd like to reach out to us with questions or comments, feel free to do so in the comments or at ops@eumetsat.int. Keep your eye on this channel for further information about how to use our products, and in the meantime, hope to see you here again soon. Thanks very much.
Coming through the house.